Hello everybody, my name is Ben and welcome to Winter Climbing Weekly. I'm very excited to be bringing this to you for the 2025-2026 winter season on behalf of the Scottish Tri-Tooling Club. What I'd like to do is basically just share what's been happening over the last few days or weeks and what's going to happen in a weather perspective and what that might affect for a climbing perspective. I've been doing these videos for the last winter season and just started for this winter season, and they've been warmly received, which I appreciate a lot. So I've now moved over to do them for the Scottish Tri-Tooling Club. If you don't know me, I am from near Leeds. I've been studying meteorology for over 6 years now. I've got a degree in environmental science, and then a thesis was focusing on snow science, specifically in Scotland. Basically, I'm an absolute weather nerd, so I like sharing this information, and I'll try and make it in a palatable form. This is the YouTube part of the series. I'll be uploading these once a week where I just kind of nerd out a bit more. But on Instagram, I will do some brief snippets of basically all the information you need to know at a smaller scale rather than a 10-15 minute video where I explain it all in a bit more detail, which is what this one is here today. The structure of these videos is I will go over what has happened via the SAS blogs or UKC, or just any pictures, reports that I've heard from anyone. And then I'll look at a few charts and try to give you the information to make good decisions about where and when you want to go, to hopefully stop you from walking into places that aren't in condition, or so that you can free up time if there's a particularly good weather window coming up ahead, so that you're ready and raring to go for it. Now, saying that, if you went out this weekend, then I'm sorry, but you are going to have to wait a bit more, because it does look like the next 2 weeks are quite mild, changeable, and stormy. There's a few caveats to this, which I will explain in a bit more detail. But on the whole, if you are wanting to plan your time wisely, I would say get ahead on anything you need to do over the next couple of weeks. I can't see anything cold until the 11th of November. Anything significantly cold, I'll say, actually. Also, I would like to quickly mention I'm not going to shout about certain routes being in condition. I'm not going to go screaming about Orion Direct being in for the first time. I'm not going to say the Shrouds touchdown or things like that. I'm basically just wanting to give people who are coming up for a weekend from Sheffield, or busy all week and can't keep an eye on what's been happening, just a quick point of call to see what they want to do for the weekend, mainly directing them to commonly climbed routes or things like that. I don't want to impede on anyone's plans, or it's a fine line I'm going to try walk, but any feedback on that would be greatly received. So if you watch the videos from my personal YouTube account, I'll no longer be uploading them there. But I mentioned the start of winter was happening this weekend, and it was originally in Corrylochen on Saturday, and then it lowered down a bit further on Sunday with some better conditions. So Snechtau was in condition, I reckon. Places over to Gar Corrymore, Loch Arn Basin, there were some other things like that. Haven't heard anything about the west coast, but it wouldn't surprise me if routes on Tower Face were in, or quite high on the Ben, maybe even Churchdoor Buttress. But then we did have a turbo thaw coming in around just after lunchtime on Sunday, as you can see here. Absolutely shot up about 5 degrees and stripped everything dry with a warmer wind. So we're back to basics with the conditions. I doubt there's anything in right now, and it might stay like that for a couple of days. The overall regime for the next 2 or 3 weeks is we've got a mid-Atlantic ridge here of high pressure, but that's going to be replaced with westerly flows, lots of wet, moist air being rolled through. You can't really predict where and when these low pressures are going to be, so I'm not going to try. But basically, if they're north to us or to the east of us, there's potential for better winter conditions. So low pressure systems to the north of us have a colder air mass, and similarly to the east of us, but if they're further south, they're able to bring up warmer air from the continent. But they have plenty of moisture in them, so that's the caveat with nothing strong for now. It doesn't take much for these low pressure systems to pick up lots of moisture, go further north, and bring us snow still on a westerly direction if they are managing to tap into the colder air to the north of us. There's nothing currently being shown. They're all quite warm moving through over the next couple of weeks. Possibly some named storms developing. But fingers crossed that we get some colder air brought into these systems over the next few weeks. In the shorter term, I can't see anything particularly cold. we have got the 0 degree isotherm for 850 HPA, so that's 1,500 meters. So we're covering about 1 or 2 degrees on the summits, with occasional snow showers, sleet and hail over the short term of the next couple of days. Here is the precipitation chart. There is something colder as this smaller low pressure system here moves further north to us and pulls some colder air in. So this is an example of what I was just saying. On the back end of this, it will be able to pull some colder air in. So if I bob on the snow model, you can see it is picking up some sorts of snow, but it will be limited amounts, as you can see there's no values on these, and then it does warm up again quickly. So that's why on the weekly outlook there's a asterisk on the Thursday. There's not much moisture in it as it has to travel over us, so I'm unoptimistic, but it should still be a pretty nice day. So if you've got one day to be on the hill, I'd make it be Thursday. Just to emphasize, this here is the freezing level, so this is the dry bulb temperature. We're hovering just above the summits of the Munros, below the highest summits. Overall, it will just get a little bit warmer and milder after that. The negative NAO will be replaced by positive NAO or low pressure blocking systems potentially, as it just spins through over the next couple of days. The jet stream is ramping up. The chart on the right here has the jet stream on it quite clearly, and it's just going to bring lots of low Atlantic systems through us, potentially from the south, warm southwesterlies, but fingers crossed that we can trap a bit of colder air. If you see in this one, that on the top end of that, you might get some northerly winds if the low pressure system could spin through us there. Now, just for the optimists out there, right at the end of the runs, there are some colder northerly winds forecast from most of the models. Very low confidence in this, obviously, it's quite far away. But if I just bring that forward here, the jet stream splits, gives a big arc, and then comes barreling down from the north around the 11th, is what I mentioned earlier. So tapping into really cold northerly air. So fingers crossed that this would basically be the next thing that I would be planning around, even though it's very low confidence at the moment. High pressure ridging systems are slightly more confidence than the short-term low pressure system stuff that we've got coming through. And just to finish off the ensembles for all the runs, we're sitting just slightly above average for the time being, with that slight dip in the third that I mentioned earlier, with that low pressure that could move just to the northeast of us. So one to keep an eye on there. And then similarly Thursday, just a bit cooler again, but there wasn't much moisture in that air mass. So again, I'm not too optimistic on that one. And high uncertainty with all of these runs, as the low pressure systems are quite difficult to predict when and what they're going to do. So just to conclude, warm, mild outlook for the next few days, 10 days realistically. Won't take much for northerlies to come back, or for some colder air to trap into the low pressure systems to bring snow, or for the low pressure systems to move further north and bring cooler precipitation, but that would just be confined to the highest tops for snowy showers for now at least. But thank you very much for listening.